Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So great to see so many people coming in. Thank you for coming. We will give just a few seconds to allow those still in the waiting room to come on into our webinar for today, with much appreciation for everyone who's taken the time to join us. Please feel free as you come in, if you notice that your name on the Zoom screen is not complete and you feel comfortable adding your full name, we'd appreciate that. And it's nice to build community by being able to understand who we are joining in on the webinar today. If you also feel comfortable turning your video on, that's always a lovely addition so that we can see one another's faces. Thank you so much for being here today. All righty, so we will continue to let people in, and I'm going to go ahead and start. My name is Laurel Ramirez, and I'm the head of school here at UWC Thailand. It's a real pleasure, as always, to be able to invite you to our Discover UWC Thailand webinar series. Today is a special topic that is very close to our hearts here at UWC Thailand, with our commitment that we've had since the school's founding to mindfulness. And so we're really overjoyed to be able to share some of that mindful way of being and thinking with you all today. So thank you for coming. We are going to be focusing specifically on the topic of living a fulfilled life, looking after ourselves, our families, and our world. And we've got a couple of wonderful guest speakers, and then an additional teacher added into the mix who will come in later on in our presentation. So we're really hoping that you get a wide variety of opportunities to consider how you might be able to live a fulfilled life. So thank you so much for finding interest in the topic and for joining us today. Before I bring us to the introduction of our speakers, I'd like to talk to you just a little bit about the format of our webinar today. If you're new to Zoom, if you go to the bottom of your screen, there's different ways that you can interact with the presentation. So if you're liking what you hear and you would like to show that through any of the reactions on the bottom of the screen, please feel free to do so. The chat is open and available for you to participate with. And so if you have any interest whatsoever in adding in any questions, any thoughts, anything that you would like to contribute to the conversation at any point in time, please feel free to do so within the chat section of our Zoom screen. We will be leaving at the end of our session information with our two guest speakers and our invited guest teacher, some time for question and answer. During that time, I'll be looking back at those questions popped into the chat, but I'll also be inviting anyone who wants to raise their little virtual hand at the bottom of the screen to do so and to join in the conversation with us. So you're welcome to join on that method as well. There's different ways that you can set up your screen, and you can find that at the top of the Zoom screen, so you can kind of personalize your experience on whether you want to see more of the screens or more of the people here involved with us today. So feel free to go ahead and do that. If you can please do us the favor of keeping your microphone on mute, that'll help make sure that we've got good sound quality as we listen to our presenters for today. And as I said at the beginning, for anyone who might have missed it, if you feel comfortable leaving your video on, we really appreciate that, as that helps to build really lovely community during our session. And if you can rename yourself to include your full name, that's also quite lovely, so we know who's here with us. All righty, and with all of that said, I would like to go ahead and move us on to getting to know a little bit the speakers that we have with us here today. So first, I would like to introduce you to Kim Yang, who is our Director of Mindfulness here at UWC Thailand. Kim is a certified K-8 international educator with extensive experience working in international contexts. She's also extensively experienced with mindfulness training, having been trained with mindful schools in the US and a teacher certification program in mindfulness in schools project from the UK. Additionally, Kim is a trained teacher of mindfulness-based stress reduction. And Kim will be sharing information for our additional guest speaker today. And so I'll hand off to you, Kim, to keep the conversation going.
All right. Thank you so much, Laurel, and welcome everyone. Really happy that you're choosing to be here today. And we just want to encourage you also to be really interactive in this session. So don't be shy, and feel free to use the chat feature and to raise the hand to really interact with us today. We're really lucky to have Raphael Jay Adjani here. And so I'm just going to pass it right off to Raphael to tell us more about, tell us more about your background.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you to Laurel. Thank you to UWC Thailand for inviting me to talk, and for the whole team who've been involved in making this webinar practically happen. I'm delighted to be here. It's a great pleasure. My name is Raphael, and I'm, amongst other things, I'm a psychotherapist. I work also as a certified teacher of a life development training program called Mindful Self-Compassion, working for the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion in the USA. I'm a teacher trainer of other mindfulness-based programs and a director of initiatives that cultivate diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in organizations. And these initiatives utilize mindfulness and compassion-focused practices. In my one-to-one psychotherapy work, I utilize therapeutic approaches from neuroscience. I utilize mindfulness and compassion-focused practices, as well as art, dance, play therapy, and ecological therapeutic approaches. I work with people of all ages, from the most advanced down to young people, or up to young people maybe, children as young as 6. So today's webinar title is Living a Fulfilled Life, Looking After Ourselves, our families, and our world. And for today's talk, I'd like to focus on ways in which the aforementioned life development training program that is Mindful Self-Compassion, known as MSC, can support each of us to live a more fulfilled life through better caring for ourselves and then our families and our communities around us, and then the wider social and natural world that we live in. So although it utilizes meditative practices such as mindfulness, MSC is much more than a meditation program. I'd call it a holistic life development training program. It was originated by a pioneering researcher into the science of compassion, Kristen Neff, in collaboration with the clinical expertise of a psychologist called Chris Germer. And MSC is a scientifically developed program where the research has shown that self-compassion greatly enhances emotional well-being, boosts happiness, reduces anxiety, reduces depression, and can even help maintain healthy lifestyle habits such as diet and exercise. So MSC has 3 main component practices: mindfulness, what is called loving kindness, and what is called common humanity. And I'll just briefly introduce what I mean by the terms mindfulness, loving kindness, common humanity, and the overarching concept of self-compassion. Simply put, for this webinar, mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So when we're able to cultivate such awareness, over time, we are enabled to live more freely and with more ease in the present moment, less encumbered by stress related to past events, less encumbered by anxiety related to anticipated future events. So loving kindness is the care that we bring to ourselves. It's about befriending ourselves. And self-compassion is this overarching term, which means the combination of mindful awareness that we bring to challenging situations, and then the loving kindness that we bring to support ourselves in those challenging and often painful moments. Common humanity is the cultivating of our practical, it's a practical understanding, not just an intellectual understanding, a practical understanding of the interrelationship of all beings. And the research evidences that this is significant in combating what is called the inner critic, as well as combating feelings of isolation that we can often feel at times of struggle. The core question here in MSC is responding to the question, what do I need? What do I most profoundly need? Which is not necessarily the same as what do I want, though it can be. And responding to what do I need could lead to questions like, what do I want to do with whatever time I have on this planet? Or what would then best resource me to fulfill that aspiration? And engaging with such a process, the MSc program helps us to clarify our core individual personal values that better guide us in life toward what we need. The MSc program utilizes mindfulness, our sense of common humanity, and loving kindness to train us to better live in attunement with our core values and give ourselves what we most deeply need. MSc is an action-oriented program, an action-oriented practical program that helps us in daily life situations, in our studies, in our play, in our work, and in our relationship with others. So MSc can be a powerful tool to develop life fulfillment and better look after ourselves, our families, and the wider world. The program, in fact, contains around 40 varied practices and exercises to enable this to happen. And while the program formally runs for 8 weeks, I think of it as lifelong training and lifelong action. And in my psychotherapy work and other related work, I invite my clients to become athletes of the metaphorical heart and mind. If the athlete does not train, they go backwards. But just as an athlete has to train almost every day, so too do we need to work each day on building skills and resilience to better look after ourselves, particularly in challenging circumstances. We need to take action to reshape the mind, and we transform our lives. So I see MSc as a lifelong athletic training program of the heart and mind. And undertaking mindful self-compassion in daily life requires some courage, some grit, it requires daily action and perseverance. But that has to be combined with a warm, friendly, tender approach toward ourselves. And this friendly approach is crucial to the success of MSc. In MSc, we can feel the pain and hurt of so-called failure, but ultimately we are positively propelled by it in a unique way. And we're taking action not in a self-critical, self-punishing way, but with a warm, friendly tone toward ourselves, a tone that in itself expresses, I'm enough, I'm good enough. So here we go gently in order to walk further. And in MSc, we're trained to better appreciate our existing skills and talents, as well as what we find in the world around us. And the evidence suggests that when we do this, we can lead fulfilling lives that profoundly influence those around us and the wider world. So I'm inviting you now to participate in an exercise and then a practice that can give you some felt sense of how mindful self-compassion, MSc, works. So let's begin, if you wish to. If you wish to, just close your eyes. You're comfortable to do so, or leave them open. Just taking in a few easy breaths. And if you can, I invite you to bring some awareness to whatever thoughts or feelings or sensations in the body arise when I say a specific word. And that specific word is compassion. Compassion. Just noticing what arises for you now. No wrongs or rights, nothing to judge here, just noticing. Seeing if it's possible to just pay attention to whatever is emerging. Thoughts, feelings, maybe some sensations in the body. Now, I ask you to just park whatever thoughts or feelings or sensations in the body have arisen. Just park that to one side. We'll come back to them later. And I invite you now to bring some awareness to what thoughts or feelings or sensations in the body arise when I say some other words, specific words. And these specific words are compassion for myself, self-compassion, compassion for myself, self-compassion. Just noticing whatever is arising for you now. No wrongs or rights. Maybe there's a blank, and that's fine too. See if we can allow ourselves to just draw attention to whatever is arising without judgment. Maybe many things emerging. So, if your eyes have been closed, just opening them now. And I'd love to hear if anybody could share something of what they noticed when I said the word compassion. What arose for you? If you're willing to share, be great. Maybe just do the wave thing and I will come to you. If I can see you all. Nobody noticed anything? Ah, Laura.
Made me smile.
Made you smile. Okay, that's great. Anybody notice anything else?
I think we're getting some comments into the chat as well. We've got being empathetic, feeling sad, feeling calm, the image of a baby.
Okay.
Sorrow for others. Kindness.
Okay.
Made me cry. Oh.
Serene. Thank you. There are many more. Please feel free to add to the chat. I won't always see them. I tend to prefer to interact face to face, but it's great to hear your comments. And what arose for anybody when I said the words compassion for myself? Self-compassion. Feel free to share again, put your wave thing up or share in the chat. Personal touch, forgiving, guilt. Great. I have a few moments. Does anybody want to share anything more before I move on? Hugging my husband.
I saw it. Did Adrian have his hand up or just in a reaction?
Oh, I was just going to say the same thing that I typed. making time for me.
Making time for me. Okay, wonderful. Feel free to add more things if you wish to, and we're gonna have a period of reflection together, questions, thoughts later at the end, and so we can come back to any of these things. But I want to contextualize this exercise for you. It's based on some research, which I wonder what you think of the statistics here. In a research study undertaken in North America, it was found that around 79% of people found it easier to care for others than themselves. 79%, incredibly high. Feel free to react. So generally, we find it harder to fully care for ourselves than for others. So the core thing that MSC is helping us to do, if you have any questions here, just feel free to just park them for now. I'll come back to these. But generally, MSC is training us to better look after ourselves. And the paradox is that when in this particular way, when we most mindfully, compassionately, with common humanity, look after ourselves, not only do we develop ourselves, we build on the care that we may already have for others and for the world in perhaps what might be argued as a more healthy way. So if we can begin to practice in this way, in this small way, we can notice significant changes in ourselves and then in the world around us. However, it's not so simple to start. We may have many misgivings about the efficacy of self-compassion. People have already talked about guilt and other things. And this is to be expected because in another research project, 6 main misgivings or misconceptions about self-compassion emerged when people were interviewed about it. Number 1, the misconception that self-compassion might undermine my motivation to achieve. In fact, the research shows that self-compassionate people have high personal standards. They just don't beat themselves up when they fail. It means they're less afraid of failure and are more likely to try again and to persist in their efforts after, in inverted commas, failing. Number 2, people fear that self-compassion is really a form of self-pity. The research shows that self-compassionate people are more likely to engage in perspective taking rather than focusing on their own distress. They're also less likely to ruminate on how bad things are, which is one of the reasons self-compassionate people have better mental health. Number 3, self-compassion will make me weak and vulnerable. Well, in fact, the research shows that self-compassionate people are better able to cope with tough situations such as divorce, trauma, or chronic pain. Number 4, self-compassion will make me self-centered and selfish. Well, the research shows that self-compassionate people tend to be more caring and supportive in romantic relationships and are more likely to compromise in various relationship conflicts and are more compassionate and forgiving of others. Number 5, the misconception that self-compassion will make me lazy and self-indulgent. Well, the research shows that self-compassionate people engage in healthier behaviors like exercise, eating well, and drinking less alcohol. Number 6, self-compassion is really a form of making excuses for bad behavior. Wrong again. The research shows that self-compassionate people take greater personal responsibility for their actions and are more compassionate and forgiving of others. So while self-compassion has often the sense of warm inner feelings of being nice, of being soft, I want to talk about the fact that it actually involves cultivating inner strength, taking strong persevering actions to manifest the life we need and want in daily life. It involves what I call becoming athletes of the metaphorical heart and mind. Just want to stop there a moment. Because I think there was something I kind of missed earlier on. I'm not sure if I said this part, but I just want to go back to it because this work of mindful self-compassion requires courage. It requires grit. It requires daily action and perseverance. I did say this, but it's probably important that I say it again at this moment, combined with a warm, friendly, tender approach toward ourselves. This is so crucial. And we'll come back to this later. So I want to, perhaps it's a good, my reminding you of that at least is a good start point for this next practice, which I hope will give you a better sense of what is mindful self-compassion. It's just a brief exercise. It's called the self-compassion break. And it's a practice that, in fact, once we learn it, we can utilize in challenging daily life situations to help us quickly reduce stress, anxiety, or help us to find quick and effective emotional equilibrium at times of the day when we feel stressed or even distressed. So once we've learned it, we can do it in 30 seconds. But to help you understand it, it may take a few minutes. So this is what I'm just going to share with you now. And it involves those three core components of mindfulness, common humanity, and loving kindness. So if you wish to, I invite you to just close your eyes now, if you're comfortable to do so, which can help focus, or leaving your eyes open, whatever you prefer. And knowing that if uncomfortable feelings arise that feel too challenging to be with at any moment, I invite you to stop completely or take a pause and choose something else that may support you. That too is self-compassion. It's not a failure of the practice. It's actually self-compassion. So just take a little moment to settle in. Take a few slow, easy breaths. Letting out any tension that there may be in the out breath. And now, entering the first stage of the practice, I invite you to bring to mind a current situation in your life that is difficult, a situation that's causing you some stress. Could be a health situation, perhaps a relationship matter, maybe a problem with work or finding work, finance, perhaps a friend who's struggling. Please choose a mild to moderate problem. In the range, say if out of a range of 1 to 10, 1 was the least difficult and 10 was the most, choose something that was around 2 or 3, not a big problem. And just become aware if you've gone straight away to a problem that's 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. And just park that and come and try if you can to find something that's 2 or 3. And if several problems are emerging, just choose one for this practice. Allow yourself now to, in your mind's eye, to see, hear, feel your way into this problem. Bring it fully alive in your mind. Perhaps using all your senses, touch, sound, taste if appropriate, to bring that situation alive in your mind. experiencing it to the extent that you may begin to experience some discomfort in your body. And seeing now if you can find the location of that discomfort, if it's there. Where is it in the body? Just focusing in as precisely as may be possible. Where do you feel it the most? Making contact with whatever sensations are arising in your body as best you can. Remembering you can pause or stop at any time if you need to. Nothing to force here. Now I invite you to find words that you can say to yourself in your own preferred language that reflect this discomfort, if there is any. For example, this hurts. Ouch. It's painful. Such stress. That's mindfulness. Conscious awareness of the present moment. So if none of my suggested words are connecting with you, find whatever words work for you. Repeating the words if you can. And moving to the second stage, I invite you to say silently to yourself, I'm not alone. Others are just like me. This is our connection with common humanity. I invite you just to find words in your own preferred language now to express this sense of not being alone when we feel this way. If you're struggling to find words, I can suggest a few more. This is how everyone feels when they struggle in this way. Difficulties are a part of life. We all struggle in life. Just finding the words that work for you and repeating them if you can. I'm not alone. Others are just like me. And now moving to the third stage, I invite you to put your hands over your heart and chest, or wherever it feels supportive. Perhaps feeling the warmth of that part of the body, or the warmth of the gentle warmth of the touch of the hand. And I invite you to silently say to yourself words like, let me be caring of myself. This is loving kindness. Other ways of saying this could be, may I give myself what I need. I embrace myself as I am. Loving myself as I am. Just finding words that work for you in your own preferred language. If you're having difficulty finding words, I invite you to imagine that you're with a dear friend, a friend who's having the same problem as you. If you were with them right now, what words would you whisper in their ear? What would you say to them so that they would feel, they would have something to go away with? Words that they would remember. Now seeing if you can offer the same message to yourself. repeating those words several times if you wish to. Now letting go of the words and staying with your experience exactly as it is, however it is, as best you can, for the next few moments. And if your eyes have been closed, perhaps just noticing the little bit of light that maybe is still penetrating those closed eyelids. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes. So I'm aware of the time, so we'll come back to maybe any reflections on the practice later. Maybe I have some sort of summary points, but I think I'll come back to those later too, if that's okay. So we can move on to the next stage. And please feel free to add anything in the chat at this moment, and we'll do our best to respond to anything that's occurred for you from that practice or so far in the talk as a whole.
Thank you, Raphael.
Thank you.
As Raphael has mentioned, we'll be returning back. What's beautiful, I think, about the UWC Thailand webinars is that we have the experiences that we've just had with you, Raphael, which were so powerful. And now we'll transition into a presentation from Kim Young, our Director of Mindfulness, because a lot of our guests on our webinar calls are educationalists, right, in some sort or another, and interested in how these powerful experiences that we've all just had with Raphael as adults, how could those be applied to a school context? So Kim, I welcome you to continue with this same line of thought, and I look forward to hearing from you on how we might be able to use some of the same mentality with how we then work with students. Kim, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Laurel, and thank you, Raphael. Yeah, I want to transition now to looking here at UWC Thailand and how we help to support living a fulfilled life. And I believe self-compassion is such an important part of that. We know that in education, it's challenging. It's challenging for everybody in the communities, and it has been exceptionally so the last couple of years. So this quote here, there is in every organism at whatever level an underlying flow of movement toward constructive fulfillment of its inherent possibilities. So it takes courage to do that, as Raphael said. It takes self-compassion to help ourselves to kind of live our best lives. So at UWC Thailand, we serve nursery through grade 12 students. And it's often the youngest learners that can teach us the most about being in the present moment and being able to just explore, to experiment, to be curious, to bring kindness to the days, and to live with joy and meeting with everyday moments. So it's a special part of being here at UWC Thailand to have those young learners remind us of that. So moving forward to our mission here, the UWC mission. We're part of 18 UWC schools around the world, and they're located on 4 different continents. And we all share a common mission, and that's to make education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. And each school has a special and unique character. And I have to say, the one that stands out here, for me at least, is a real sense of family, a sense of belonging here at UWC Thailand. So there's another part behind the mission here that also stands out, and it's our motto. It's a good heart, a balanced mind, and a healthy body. So the community here really seeks to create a caring and supportive and joyful environment. And this comes into play in everything we do. The staff here and the families, we come back to this all the time. And we really embrace the idea of developing the whole child, not just the academics, but really raising the whole child. It's deeply embedded into the culture of the school, and it has been since the very beginning. And so to support this, at the forefront of it is relationships. We all know that relationships are key to the sense of belonging and the need to feel seen and heard and to be valued. And here you see in the photo, it's it's our kindergarten teacher, Kirill, who's maybe still here. And they're having their morning meeting right under the big tree on the lawn. We continue this idea of morning meetings throughout the experience of a student here. So all the way through MYP and DP, just takes different shapes and forms. And there's, before I go on too much, actually, I'd like to pause for just a moment. And I want to embrace this idea of the sense of belonging. And I'm curious if you just take a moment to yourself and think, when is a time that you really felt this sense of belonging? When you really felt seen and heard? When you felt truly valued and cared for, loved? And be thinking about who was there, where you were, what you were doing, and how did you know you were feeling seen and heard and valued? What are you picturing in your mind's eye right now? And if you feel comfortable in the chat, maybe just sharing a few words, a phrase, what came to mind with this sense of belonging? Who was there? Where were you? What were you doing? And just even bringing up that memory, how did that make you feel inside? So I'd be curious to hear, where we have people from all over the world in different places, but if you could just share a little bit, what came up to you with this sense of belonging? Where were you? And who were you with? And what were you doing? Yeah, hiking in the mountains with my husband and kids and sun on our face. Anything else come up for anybody? Or you could just raise your hand. You could speak out. Did anything else come to mind for you? Multicultural day. Yeah. You know, for me, I was thinking of being just with friends outdoors at home and skiing together. I knew I was seen and heard. We were laughing together, talking, looking at each other in the eye, face to face. And there was just this sense of knowing each other. And so here at UWC Thailand, there's so many different activities that happen all the time where it's trying to cultivate this sense of belonging. And they're cross grade level, they're outdoors often. The campus is beautiful and really made for all these different activities. Yeah. Anyways, moving, some of the other things that happen here. Yeah, I'll keep moving this along given our time. This idea of living a fulfilled life. Yeah, thank you, Colin. I appreciate that, Colin. I think we better keep moving it along. So some of the things that happen here, we really try to provide opportunities for students to flourish. So maybe going back to that slide where the students are planting the mangroves, that would be really helpful. One more back, I think. There it is. There it is. A little delay going on. So this is a really great example of, and our staff yesterday were just planting mangrove seed pods that have been collected by some of our younger students. And it's the sense where people feel empowered. So the staff feels empowered, students feel empowered, and this feeling of anything's possible. So having voice and choice and ownership in things. So this project is was actually inspired by a couple of teachers here and worked together with the local community to find places in need of help with the environment. And students and staff collect mangrove seed pods when they're out on beach cleanups often, or even when they're just out on their own. And then the seed pods are brought back to campus, and there's an area on campus made for raising them, potting them, putting them in the water and letting them grow. And then when the time's right, they're brought back out to different locations. And in this case, the grade 1 and 11 students work together collaboratively. So this is just one example. There's so many other stories here of how we do cross grade level activities and really trying to help kids connect with each other and staff. So moving on to the next slide. we'll talk a little bit about something that was developed here called Wellness Wheel. This slide is just meant to show different ways that mindfulness comes into play here at UWC Thailand. So I'm just going to move forward to the Wellness Wheel. And this is all about trying to lead a balanced life. It's something that we actually strive to do here. And we have Liv Symons, our Wellbeing Coordinator, here to tell us a little bit more about how this was developed and some of the details behind it. So Liv.
Thank you, Kim. Hi, everybody. So as you can see, our wellness wheel there, it looks at 13 different aspects of health. And this was developed by some of the staff here at UWC Thailand. And we use it throughout the year for both the staff. As you can see in the photo, this was a group activity with half of the staff, looking at the different aspects of this and how we're going, how we feel ourselves, we're doing on these aspects. And I think it's really lovely that Raphael has talked about self-compassion, because it's very important, and that when we do these kind of reflective activities, that we do take that self-compassion, because we can look at this and go, oh no, I'm a one in all these areas. But that's not the point, you know. And when we do it, it's more just, well, how am I going? Where are my areas where I'm really struggling at the moment, and being able to support each other. And we have in our staff meetings periodically throughout the year where we buddy up with other teachers and reflect on these things and get support from each other. And I think that's a beautiful part about our community here. The Wellness Wheel is also used with the older students. And just recently this week, the grade 5 student used this Wellness Wheel with the Banyan Literacy Centre, which they visited as a service project, and was able to connect with the Burmese children there on their well-being. So it's really wonderful in connecting our wider community, which is really special. Yeah, so yeah, you can move on.
And I think if you click to the next slide, Liv has placed some really lovely pictures of those connections to the community. Liv, did you want to share a little bit with our audience not familiar with our campus what these different community connections represent?
So some of these are at Multicultural Day, which is a celebration of all the different cultures at our school. And it's a day when we can all celebrate our diversity, and we have a concert with many different things happening there, and a flag walk and things. And the picture down below is my nursery class last year or 2 years ago with their for Loy Krathong, which is a Thai celebration where they've all made their krathongs that they're holding, the flowers, and then they float them. And it's a really beautiful celebration, because we invite the parents to come in and help their children to make the krathongs. And so that's just one aspect. There's many ways that we invite families in to our community, and they support us through the PTA as well. So yeah, we have lots of community connections, which helps our overall well-being.
Wonderful, Liv. Thank you so much. So I don't know about everyone else on the call today, but goodness, has it been wonderful to just take this time to reflect and to consider that opportunity that we have to be compassionate with ourselves and with others. And so this is really the opportunity to engage. I have a few questions that have come in through private chat, and I have a question in the chat as well. Raphael has also placed in some facts about self-compassion as a follow-up. So make sure you take a look at that. If you have questions, feel free to pop those into the chat, and we'll see how many questions we can get to in this last 10 or 11 minutes or so of our time together today. So feel free to raise your digital hand or put the question into the chat, and I'll go ahead and get going. Any one of our panelists who would like to respond, please feel free to do so. So we've got a question in the open chat asking how these activities, I think this is probably for you, Kim, how these activities and mindfulness sessions that are organized here at UWC Thailand, how do we see those impacting students' mental health? Do we see a difference between before and after the strategies that we use for social emotional learning and mindfulness are implemented with students? Or is there a difference between how we see our programming impacting mental health and that of the mental health at other UWC schools and colleges? And I can maybe help you with that last one. Do you want to respond to that, Kim?
Yeah, sure. I think it's, I don't know, we don't have the data, like you don't do a pre-test and a post-test before you go out and do some of the activities, but the evidence is on the looks of the faces of the students and the interactions between staff. There's just a felt feeling, right? There's this connection, and it's a way of living. And this campus actually special because it does have the younger students and the older students. And so those cross grade level activities really do lend themselves to supporting mental health. So often we can get, especially older students who are in the DP program, can get really wrapped up in the studying and the stress of the exams and striving, and there's a lot of pressure on them. And so when they're interacting with the younger students, they can feel part of a family, supported in a broader sense. And then the activities might be light and kind of fun at times, celebratory things like the multicultural day where there's performances and dance and music and all of that. And but other times they're the service learning, which really lends itself to that sense of purpose and meaning in life and seeing some things that are greater than ourselves. So I think the evidence is actually in the experience when you're there and you can feel it and see it on people's faces. Yeah, and Laurel, maybe you could speak to the other schools.
Yeah, so we were actually very, very fortunate to just have hosted a retreat for UWC heads of school and colleges here in Phuket, and they were able to experience some of our mindfulness and social emotional programming with Kim and some of our students. And you know, mental health is a topic of our twice monthly conversations that we have as heads, and within the international office, there's employees within that realm working specifically on mental health. It's a priority across all UWC schools and colleges, absolutely. What the heads who visited us and those online who were able to connect have mentioned is just how powerful the mindfulness aspect of our programming is and how unique that is. You really don't tend to see that level of commitment at a UWC school or college, and you frankly don't usually see it across most schools around the world. And so that's quite a unique aspect of our programming. And I think the fact that our school was founded so specifically on principles of social emotional learning and mindfulness means that we're just kind of default prioritizing that a little bit more than maybe can tend to exist in other schools. And that might include as well other UWC schools and colleges. But we see that as an opportunity to, as Kim says, maybe do a better job of tracking some of the impact of that programming on our students and being able to share with others how that impact can be a really powerful thing and a tool that could be really helpful to add to a school programming. So we're currently working to share much more our mindfulness practices with other UWC schools and colleges, and open to sharing those with other schools as well, because we're happy to share that gift with others and hopeful that it might help in some way. I have another couple of questions that have come through private chat, so I'll jump to those. If you want to ask a question, please feel free to raise your digital hand, or you can put that into the chat as well. This one I think is for you, Raphael. Where we had a question that came in on private chat. If you have any feedback that you might want to share on some specific strategies that people might use if they're trying to combat their inner critic. Raphael, I don't know if you
Yeah. Well, it's what I've been talking about today, in a sense, is finding the way to be kind and caring to ourselves in a way. And sometimes that kind and caring doesn't just mean necessarily being soft. You know, obviously these words kind, caring, compassionate generally have often a very soft, warm feeling, but it's more than that. They can include that, and they certainly do include that. But sometimes it's Kristen Neff, who's the co-creator of Mindful Self-Compassion, has written a book called Fierce Compassion. And especially written, that was, in her mind, was especially written particularly for women, but it could be applied to all people. So sometimes you have to say no. No, that's not acceptable. That can be self-compassion too. It's really important. And sometimes we have to say no to our inner critic, perhaps, that is firing away saying, you're useless, you're stupid, you're this, you're that. You can say no. And that is tough. And one of the things I say about this, which is I mentioned, I think, I don't know, Colin, if you can share the slide about small action. This isn't a meditation program. It's about taking small actions daily, just to be a little more caring of ourselves, a little bit more mindful. And when we partly just about being mindful, there's implicit care in that, when we are most in the present moment. Self-compassion goes a little further as well in that way. It helps to support us in those moments when we feel bad. We can say to ourselves, what do I need at this moment? What do I need to give myself? And that can be really simple. It doesn't have to be something mega like I need to go and live in Africa if I live in Europe or something. It can be, I just need a cup of tea at this moment. You know, and slowly being able to understand, what do I need moment by moment? What do I need? This is an active question that I ask myself. Even when I wake up in the morning, what do I need at this moment? Sometimes it is a cup of tea. Sometimes it's fresh air or something. But this is a very, very, that's why I call it this process of, it's very practical. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. I really resonate with that idea of kind of knowing yourself, right? And knowing what can help you to change habits slowly over time. So I've got a couple more questions. We'll try and sneak them in our time. We got a couple of questions from the private chat that are quite related. So I'll maybe attempt to connect them, and please forgive me those that put those questions, and I hope I do a good job of connecting them. So one question that was wondering if we felt, and maybe Olivia, well, actually any of you, we're all in Thailand, if we felt like the impact of Thai culture and being in Thailand was another factor that might contribute to the impact of our mindful approach in the well-being of our students. And that connects kind of nicely with another question that came in, considering kind of what to do if your individual values conflict with the broader community's shared values. So there's some relation there between the two questions. I don't know, between Olivia, Kim, and Raphael, who might want to tackle those questions.
Would the others like to go first? Kim, Liv?
Go ahead. I just respond. I'm sorry, I was responding to the chat. So I was responding to staff training there. So we can go ahead.
Liv?
Me, sorry. Okay. Yes. So I think certainly that being in Thailand and the Thai culture being quite Buddhist certainly feeds into sort of our view of well-being, of mindfulness at the school, and sort of, yeah, the way that things are done here is different from other countries, of course. And so it's accepting, and yeah, as you say, like, I think as an expat, you're always going to be in a culture which you maybe is not your own, and you don't necessarily agree with or find difficult to accept certain parts of it, but it's always about accepting. And I think that that's a beautiful part of our culture, or the Thai culture, which really has come into our school and into our community. And there's a real acceptance of differences and opinions that I see. That's even though we're not all Thai, we still sort of have taken that on. So I think it does impact, yeah.
Thank you, Liv. And there's a follow-up question in the chat from Yunwei that is speaking to maybe the second part of that question. So Raphael or Kim or Olivia, if you want to follow up, please do. Just this idea of what do we do as we reconcile kind of the self-compassion with the compassion for other when it comes to maybe the values that are determined. So the example here of, you know, someone getting wet and being sick, and what if I don't feel necessarily compassionate about that, where the person might want me to feel compassionate. Same kind of question that came through the chat earlier on maybe that conflict between individual personal values and then maybe the broader societal values. Does anyone want to tackle that small question?
It's actually, I think I'd say thank you for the honesty there and expressing your feelings. And Liv, you have your hand up if you're responding, or no, is your...
Yeah, I can
Okay, yeah.
that, because And I think that this is really it, isn't it? We all have different views or whatever about like how we get sick. And I don't know this individual situation, but you know, in general, as a teacher, we understand that some parents worry about children playing in the rain, and we also know the value of experiences with all different senses, and you know, and being wet in the rain. And it's a cultural difference, and I don't know if this is where you're coming from, but you know, some cultures think that if in the rain you get wet, you know, you get a cold, and that's fairly factual, and others don't so much believe that. And so it's balancing those, being compassionate that people have different ideas. But yeah, and I'm sorry if you felt that the teachers weren't being compassionate about that, but I think that perhaps they were thinking about the experience that the children could have with playing in the rain. Yeah, I hope, does that answer it? I'm not sure.
Well, and I think you're speaking really nicely, Olivia, to just the challenge of knowing oneself and having consideration and awareness of other, right? And just what an ongoing challenge that is for us all, because of course we all approach things from our own biased perspective. And so how much can we continue to grow and understand the experiences and the preferences of those around us, I think is an ongoing challenge. I hope in some way at all that we might have been able to contribute to everyone's thinking on this subject of living a fulfilled life. Because we're already at time at 5 o'clock, I'm gonna move us along, but with much appreciation for everyone joining us here today. And a reminder that you can expect follow-up from us, including the ways that you might be able to reach out to our speakers today if you would like to continue the conversation with them. So we will be showing you a short video that allows you to kind of see some of the mindfulness and values of our school in action. And then after that, an invitation to be able to join us for our next webinar as well. So please enjoy the video, and we'll see you right after. Video gets to me every time. So we invite you to join us for our next webinar. It's going to be incredible. The case for personal challenge. If you found it interesting to consider how you might be more compassionate with yourself, interesting to think how you might be able to take that into the greatest challenge you would present to yourself. And we have some incredible speakers joining us for that. So that one, actually that date, I'm sorry, is listed wrong there. That will be on Monday, May 23rd. And we would love to have you join us. The invitation for that will also come out in our follow-up email. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're really grateful to you. Thank you so much, Raphael. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Olivia. We appreciate you and we hope to see you back here with us next time. Thanks so much, everyone.